Hey, gang. This is the most quiet I've had all day.
Well, hey, Luke.
Hey, how you doing, bro?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
You said you were going to Denver, but not just yet.
Yeah, tomorrow. I leave tomorrow morning.
That sounds nice.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Lots going on. All right. That's my reminder. All right, everybody. Welcome to the back community call for Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. Hope you all are having a good one today. Some big news out or updates out today. We integrated Bitcoin into the desktop wallet on Brave. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. Big milestone. I know Douglas is here too from the wallet team. I know that's big step today. So really super cool to see that happen. And then a follow on too to the news last week of the rewards on chain settlements starting to go live, which is great too. So lots and lots of stuff going on. Carlos and I are going to be in Denver. You were saying for ETH Denver this week, so kind of getting ready for that and making a lot of meetings and a lot of stuff going on around there. And yeah, I think let me see, is we got Jenny in the house yet, or is Jenny not here yet? It looks like Jenny's. We're waiting for Jenny. Drew, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. Yeah, Jenny should be here shortly. So yeah, I'm doing good. Doing good. Good.
Good.
Keeping busy.
Yeah, we had the karate combat tournament was last Friday, which was interesting.
Yeah. It was pretty funny and fun to watch some of those influencers. But it looks like Jenny's here, and I know we're going to be talking about that a little bit more as well with the update. But definitely was kind of fun to watch that.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. It was cool.
Yeah,
And what's his name did a good job too. The Crypto Dojo guy up there.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was cool. He knew what he was talking about.
Yep. You ready, Jenny?
I am ready. Sorry, I was just taking a sip of water. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone is having a nice Tuesday. Luke, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Should I start us off?
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
Do it.
All right. Okay, everyone. So we'll start with our community update today. We'll dive right into a referral stats updates, and it's been a couple of weeks. So everybody knows all about the referral stats campaign that we're running with our bad ambassadors. But just in case there's anybody new in the room, or who tunes in later, we've been running this referral campaign with a small group of bad ambassadors for since mid-September. Each of them has their own unique referral link and QR code for the Brave browser, and we are trying to get them to drive as many downloads and bring as many new users to the Brave ecosystem as possible. And we're using this campaign to track our impact on user growth over time. So the campaign remains ongoing, but here are the latest stats. So in total, so far since our campaign kicked off, we have driven 6,453 downloads. That is a lot. Of those downloads, 448 first opens have resulted. So that means people who have not only downloaded the browser, but then opened it, started using it. And then at the bottom of the funnel there, we have 214 conversions. So driving conversions is not easy. We consider a conversion to be a new user who has used the browser for at least 30 days. At that point, we consider them a convert. But as you can see, there's a pretty big disparity or jump between the number of downloads and conversions. And that is because we know it is very difficult to get people to switch browser products, but our ambassadors do a really good job of, educating the people that they speak to and who they get to try the product for the first time. And I think we'll continue to see this conversions number. Well, we'll definitely continue to see this conversions number increase over time as the campaign goes on. And we will start to see that number catch up with the download number as well. But as for our February goal, end of February goal, it was 250 conversions. We're the 27th today, last day of the month tomorrow. I don't think we're going to hit our target, but we're 86% of the way there, and that's really, really close. So I just want to congratulate all of our ambassadors who put in a lot of time and effort into this referral campaign and who have been going out, hosting events, attending conferences, using their QR codes, educating the public. It's a lot of work, and it's really paying off. It doesn't matter that we didn't hit the target. We're going to keep going. And as you can see, we're like that golden retriever in the pool trying to get his little ball. So close. So we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's just keep it going. But I'm really proud of all of you for all the effort so far. It's been fun, and it's been a lot of work. All right, moving on to some BAT community highlights. So we have a BAT ambassador of the month, and her name is Moonbeamer. She is so awesome. I can't even begin to explain how wonderful Moonbeamer is. She is always around. First of all, she's always participating, always very actively engaged with our ambassadors, both in our private ambassador Discord, but also out in public on Twitter. You can see her making a lot of noise for Bat and Brave. I'll actually walk through some of her contributions in a couple of minutes, but yeah, so she's super involved, super engaged, attends all of our community events, participates in every initiative, and you know what? Somehow, in spite of her very demanding career, she somehow still has the time to be really deeply involved in the Web3 space. And she always tends to know which projects are the ones to watch and which are about to pop off. And she's responsible for bringing us a handful of our recent Twitter Spaces guests. And she also sparked what has now become a full-blown partnership with Karate Combat. So thank you for that, Moonbeamer. We're having a great time with them, and that's thanks to you. She's also a Sailor Moon fan, so hence all the imagery. Ooh, all right. Hang on a second. Oh, okay. So I just wanted to show you all some of the cool stuff that she's done. So these are some examples of outreach that she does in the community. So on the right-hand side here, you can see this is a tweet format that she uses to reach out to Web3 projects that she thinks would be interesting collaborators for the BAT community. She does this clever, little graphic with your project here, sitting between me, Paula, Godson, Guillermo, Adam, and Drew on the couch there in the Bat Cave, and she explains a little bit about what the community is and that she's a BAT ambassador. Same thing here on the left. This is her reaching out to Jupiter Exchange, and then she has this little graphic where she explains, that she's a BAT ambassador, what that means, and then also, what Bat and Brave is for projects who may not know. So super awesome. And then we've got my little bobbing Luna on the left, also from Sailor Moon. And on the right, this is the proposal that Moonbeamer put together when she identified a pain point in our, workflows for BAT ambassadors. She was like, all of this is way too manual. She's like, we've got to find a way to automate all of this. And she's been working for the past several months to help us automate some of our workflows. And she's just been killing it. So once again, thank you, Moonbeamer. Congratulations. And we are eager to continue working with you. All right, moving on. Last week on Friday, we had our BAT community KC44 watch party for Karate Combat's K44 event. It was super fun. We had it on Brave Talk. I think you all were talking about it a little bit at the beginning of the call, right when I joined. But yeah, so we hosted it on Brave Talk, and Crypto Dojo, who is one of our BAT ambassadors. He's also a martial artist, martial arts teacher, who has a YouTube channel. He's a creator / martial artist. Anyways, he was streaming the event on his YouTube channel, and then we plugged his stream into Brave Talk. So we had his commentary, and then we had the actual event stream going on in the background, and we had a bunch of people in the room chit-chatting, commenting on the matches, voting in Brave Talk on who we thought was going to win each bout. It was so cool, so fun. And then Karate Combat did this new thing, I think it's pretty new, where they collaborate with the Influencer Fight Club, which is a separate organization that trains crypto influencers to be able to fight in the Karate Combat League. And then at the end of the fights on Friday, we got to see some really big crypto influencers like Moondaddy and BitBoy and Crypto Crow face off in the ring, which was insane. It was crazy. And it actually caused Karate Combat to kind of go viral on crypto Twitter and maybe bring in some new fans. So I'm excited to see where this partnership goes because it's gaining traction, especially with their getting involved with crypto and Web3 influencers. Really cool to see. I don't know what you covered at the beginning, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. And we will be doing these watch parties on Brave Talk for the upcoming KC44 and KC45 events. So stay tuned. And lastly, if you did attend and you want the POAP from the event that Guillermo designed, you can head into our Discord and claim that now. And then, here are just some screenshots from the event on Brave Talk. So as you can see, we have our participants on the right-hand side or the left, depending on which screenshot you're looking at. And then we have that little circle in the bottom right-hand corner where we were feeding in Crypto Dojo's stream. So he was doing his commentary there. And then that's him on the bottom right with his Brave sweater. So it was a ton of fun. And as you can see, we've got the Brave branding on the arena. It looks beautiful. It was super fun, high production value, those Karate Combat events. Our community is loving it. And it's been a great time. All right, now I'm going to hand it off to Paula for her announcement, her update.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a lovely day. So last week, we posted and highlighted our space recap with Leap Cosmos on the back community account on X. We also published our space recap with Shrapnel. I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right, Shrapnel, that we did on January 19th. Just a reminder, these recaps are published weekly on Bad Community's Notion and can always be found in the AMA Calls Recap channel, specifically under information in the Bad Brigade Discord, which are also shared weekly at the same time they're published in Notion. And soon we will be posting it on X as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. So during the Karate Combat event that Jenny just mentioned, we had the pleasure of having the participation and of course, representation of our Bad Ambassador from Mexico, Donatello, who with his team went to support and promote Brave among the attendees. They interacted with the audience and some fighters, and actually we have a video with one of them. I think he's called, I think his name is Crypto Grady or something like that. I think it's Crypto Grady, which we will probably share very, very soon. And he shows his love and appreciation for Brave. It's very, very cool. They also use, go ahead, Jenny.
Oh, sorry, that was a misfire. But I didn't know that they got a video with Crypto Grady. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's very funny. It's very funny. Hopefully we can share it.
He even shouts out Brave, so it's good.
That's wild. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it. It's great.
What was I saying? They also used the referral QR code and distributed some stickers and hats. So shout out to Donatello and his bad team for attending and helping us promoting Brave. And so I think Rafael is in the audience today. So, but now talking about him, Rafael from Honduras started doing streams on Twitch some time ago, and he utilizes the platform to share content about Brave, and he uses his referral QR code too. So if you go to his profile, you can find it there, kind of like a pinned content. So we thought it was a great idea to support him by sending some merch for him to wear in the streams. So that way we support him and his content, and of course appreciate his effort. And he also helps us promoting Brave, which is great. And thank you. And as you can see in the photos, we sent him some beanies, t-shirts, and hoodies. And he made and he made an amazing video, it's kind of like an unboxing video, showing the merch, of course. And we will also share his video very, very soon because it's amazing. So if you speak Spanish and you are active on Twitch, please go subscribe to his channel. So another shout out to Rafael for all his support. Thank you so much, and that's all from my side.
Awesome. Thank you, Paula. Oh, I just remembered that I don't think Guillermo is actually going to be here today, but is he? Hang on, let me just double check.
Can I give a quick shout out to Paula too? Paula and I think it's Bruno, right? Like from Brazil. They're both helping us out with some stuff with the ads manager. Working on getting it localized for Latin America and South America into Spanish, and then into Brazil for Brazilian Portuguese too. And so yeah, really help. I mean, really appreciate both of y'all stepping up to help us out with that. Super important. So thanks.
No, thank you so much, Luke. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to help.
And I think we'll have some more opportunities like this as well. We're going to be looking to do more language localization into France and Germany. I think will probably be the next areas that we're looking at, getting more localization in. And I know we've got some folks that speak French and German in the community too. So we'll be sure to reach out as we get closer to doing that too. But yeah, appreciate y'all. Thanks.
Ooh, awesome to see that. Yeah, so it looks like Guillermo's not here today, but I'll quickly cover his update. He's been working on some really cool capsule collections for the community-inspired section of the Brave merch store. I think this design that is up here is one of them, so hopefully you all like it. Many of them are actually designs that have gone viral in the community previously, so we know that they're well-liked. So he did a few in this kind of style. Also, just looking at his slide here, it's looking like we're going to be pushing for Pay with Bat on the store. Yes, definitely we are. I know that item has been on the roadmap for a little while, but the Swag Store team, merch store team, hasn't gotten around to it. But we are pushing for it. We would like to see it on the store, especially because we did have BAT and ETH payments on the previous store, and we also had NFT support. So we're looking to get parity there. And yes, let's see what else he's got. Oh, yeah, these designs are really cool. Got the security camera with the bat sticker over the actual camera, and then you can see the wires unplugged or pulled out of the wall here to showcase the idea of staying private. Let's see what else it says here. Well, you all can read the slide, but yeah, stay tuned. There will be some Guillermo designs coming to the store very shortly. Oh, and then this one is inspired by Bat Earn's Pelican drawing, which came about during a community game of Scribble like 2 years ago. But it's like a viral image that keeps going around in our community. And then Guillermo made this funky shirt based on that design, and I think it's super funny. Hopefully you guys like it. But yeah, we may be seeing these on the store very, very soon, so stay tuned. And I will pass it off to Drew. Oh, there's more. There's more. Wow, these are really cool.
He said throw some of that stuff in there, and he went off for a while.
Wow. He just dropped fire bombs and left. There we go.
You got him excited, Jenny. You got him excited. So yeah, okay. So we had to reschedule our space with VeChain from last week, so that'll be upcoming, so stay tuned there, because that'll be another big one. But this week we got Zcash, very excited for this space, especially with that partnership that's kind of been going on behind the scenes as well. So that'll be a good one. I'm actually quite interested in it and kind of seeing the privacy aspects of crypto, because with everything being a public blockchain, it's interesting. So I'm excited to learn more about that. We had the events like we talked about with Karate Combat. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Crypto Dojo, and everybody else that was there and attended and participated. It's always a good time, and looking forward to the next one. So we had a quest that we did some giveaways for the NFT holders of the Karate Combat tokens. We ran into a few little issues with the distribution. I guess with HBAR wallets, you have to activate the token. And so check the announcements in the holders giveaway channel for that. If you haven't received your Karate tokens, you'll just have to kind of get with me and either download the Karate Combat app that has a wallet there or activate the Karate token on your HBAR wallet that you're using. And we'll get you over those Karate tokens. And then, yeah, outside of that, we've kind of been talking to quite a few people, looking at, other partnerships or other, people on Spaces, projects that are interested in Brave and BAT and utilizing that as well. And so, especially, seems like market's kind of up here recently. And so as those things happen, I think we'll get a lot more interest since we all know Brave has, users and a lot of them. So I think we'll definitely get a lot more people trying to, work with Brave and utilize BAT, hopefully, and try to push that as we go. So I think that's kind of the main part what we got going on my side. So thanks, Jenny.
Awesome. I think that wraps it up for us today. Thank you so much. Thanks, Drew.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. And I see we've got some awesome guests here. We've got Samson and we've got Dan and we've got Douglas Daniel. We got Kyle here too. I don't know, Kyle and Douglas, if you guys have anything from the wallet side or anything you all feel like sharing, feel free. Or if not, no worries. But just wanted to invite you all to have the floor, or Samson too, for that matter. If not, no sweat. I also be curious if anybody on this call has was part of that first group that got invited to do the on-chain settlements with that we announced last week, and if you all saw. Yeah, Samson, we covered that part in the beginning. If you all had anything to share about how that experience went, because we saw a lot of good pickup for it when we announced it last week, and if not, no worries, and we can open up for questions or anything you guys want to talk about. Not all at once.
Oh, I didn't realize I was unmuted there. Actually, I can jump in with something real quick.
Yeah, please do.
I think we're going to be doing another invite round for anybody who wants to do some early testing for Brave Rewards payouts on Solana. So if you are interested, let me know. Send me a message on Twitter or find me in Discord. We do have a sheet where I can collect your payment ID so that you get the notification in the browser next time we do an invite round.
Cool. Awesome. All right, let's open it up. Anybody have anything they want to talk about or ask about or feedback or anything that you all want to talk about? Hand up from Bows.
Yeah, since we have a few people from the wallet team on, I just thought I'd ask. This is kind of a bit generic, but I know we sent y'all that feedback spreadsheet where we kind of report bugs and issues. And it sounds like it's been pretty helpful. I'm just kind of curious, what's made that be more helpful than, say, people going the traditional route of maybe community forum or something like that? Is it just because it's pre-compiled for you, or? And where would y'all potentially want to see us doing something similar with other Brave products?
That's a good question. I don't know, Kyle, if you want to, do you have any thoughts? I see you're muted.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at this now. I think having it organized in the way it is helps. Also, for me personally, I don't tend to check community forum as often as I probably should. So that's part of it, is I'll miss things that aren't on there unless I'm tagged. I get the emails, but I mean, the emails aren't necessarily pointing out the things that I should be looking at. So that's a little bit tougher. So it's kind of just a classic signal to noise problem. And at least with this list of things, it makes it very clear as to what it is. In fact, one of them was actually something that a few of us had made a decision on, that around the BTC wallet being able to export keys. There's actually some trickiness to that, so we intentionally turned that off. And then that got reported as a bug. So that produces kind of some interesting feedback for us to try and take a look at and figure out, is this something we do need to turn on? If we do, how do we make it work without making it too complex? Those types of things. So yeah, I'd say mainly just it reduces the noise that comes with everything else on the community forum.
Yeah, this is helpful. And I think too, like, there's different, like, I mean, like, you know, like Bows and everybody that's involved with kind of compiling the feedback, like, we're all together often in, you know, whether it's in the group DMs or in other areas where we're all talking. So like, there's a kind of like we all know each other pretty well too. And so like, by the time stuff hits that list, there's been some conversation around it, and it helps to like kind of frame it up in a way that, okay, like, I know that our like hardcore group of wallet testers are finding this stuff out. You know, like, can we take this from them and see if there are any other patterns with the broader noise that's happening, just to make sure, like, see things, you know, like Kyle was saying, like they saw something that was reported as a bug that was part of a decision from earlier. So I think there's different degrees of, like, you know, we all have been meeting together here weekly for quite a long time, and I know, like, when Bows surfaces something, it usually means that he feels pretty strongly about it needing to get addressed, right? Like, whereas like with the general public, it's like we don't really know who we're talking to most of the time. So I think it helps with like layering too, like where we can, you know, I know that if I put that list in the channel and people have follow-ups, I can probably get one of you guys like to re-engage with them pretty quickly, you know, because we're always kind of talking together anyway. So I think those things help too. If that makes sense.
I will say, like, you guys all maintain a reputation too of like a user who's followed the product, knows what's going on, and knows this doesn't seem right. Whereas like a lot of times you can show up and look at something on the community forum and go, I know there's a wiki document for it. I just have to go find this. And the user like didn't search for it or doesn't know where to look for it and stuff like that. And so there's kind of a different level of complaint between the two. One is, has the user, how much effort has the user put into trying to figure out this problem themselves, versus one where it's like, I know when I'm getting a report from you guys, it's like, hey, this is interesting, I should go take a look at it. And it just comes down to prioritizing, because you guys maintain a reputation of like, you know, surfacing good bugs.
Awesome. Cool.
Is there any other areas like within Brave that you feel like a specific document would be value add for?
I mean, I think you added a couple different tabs in there too. I think what I could probably do is like surface the doc to those channels too, and people can add to those as well. I mean, I think, you know, that might be helpful. So like whatever you guys think. I mean, we can start with the tabs that you have and go forward, or if there's other areas too, be happy to add to that as well.
Good deal.
Yeah, C-Ray, I see you got a hand up.
Yeah, on Wallet, I did want to circle around. Lately, I had seen a couple people who were having issues getting things sent out. And in the long run, what we found out is they were just putting everything in lowercase. And I guess Brave Wallet requires addresses to fluctuate, to have capital and lower. Is that something that there can be an option for, or a clearer warning? Because generally Ethereum addresses and everything are not case sensitive. So it's kind of awkward that Brave Wallet suddenly makes you be.
Yeah, Kyle, go ahead.
Doug might be better at answering this, but I know part of the reasoning for this, and I can see how this code was written now. Somebody wrote it around base 58 encoding, which does require case sensitivity. And then with, as you point out, certain networks, they run hex encoding, where case sensitivity doesn't matter. And then it's like one of those side effects that just sticks around because nobody thought about, hey, this network operates differently and it would be a useful feature to change it. So I don't think like that's something where it's necessarily intentional, but rather we just didn't catch it when we were writing it. And that's a perfect example of a bug of how to make things a little bit easier to use. I appreciate you debugging it as well. Is there an issue open for that by chance?
I don't think there was. What ended up happening on one of the topics where I had tagged, he had responded and gave an article link, which I just put in chat. And he was saying it's an article that explains why case-sensitive addresses are preferred. So it made it seem like it was done intentionally, and it was saying that checksum versus non-checksummed, and basically just a way to precaution people from sending maybe to the wrong address or something. But I did want to bring that up and ask if that really is intentional, or and if it is, if at least we could spell it out better instead of saying, "Hey, make sure that everything is correct." To tell people it must match the checksum or something. It has to have the capital and lowercase, can't be all lowercase or whatever.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I remember working on this maybe a year and a half ago. But yeah, we do have that checksum check. And I think the issue that was happening was you were able to click the submit send button, and then you get the pop-up in the panel. And that check was not allowing you to actually send the funds. So we do, I guess, display that checksum warning saying, hey, we can't verify that this is a correct address without that checksum check. So we will encourage and just say, hey, just so you know, without this check, we might not be able, it might not go to the right address. But I think the key bug was in the panel, and it was blocking the button. It was disabling the button from hitting send, basically. And if that's still an issue, I can definitely take a look at it. I haven't seen it in a while, but I can also check here in a few just to make sure it's still not an issue.
Yeah, so what I did, I just gave, if you check on chat, some community links were the two recent. And as the one said, the warning that they got is it says address doesn't look correct. Check your address to make sure it's the right address. Example, letters with lower or uppercase. And then, of course, while that's up there, if you try to click like next or send, it won't let you do it. But like they said, if they capitalize anything in there, just one single letter, it would all of a sudden act like it might be correct or something. Or like this one says, if I capitalize the D, Brave doesn't complain, but then is address returns false. So yeah, it was a weird thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can take a look at this evening and see if there's see what we can do, and also bring it up in our Web3 channel too, our internal channel, and talk about it and see if we can get some ideas.
Appreciate it.
Cool. I don't know, Kyle, you can just jump in too. You don't got to raise your hand. Feel free if you got jump in duties. No worries.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually a question back to you guys, because it's kind of more of a principle thing that I think about from the security perspective, where on one hand, we're dealing with helping users manage their own funds, and on the other, we want to provide users with the sovereignty to really be able to control things on their own. And like when we design features like this, a lot of it's somewhat paternalistic, I should say. That's the term I tend to use for it, where it's like protect the user because the last thing you want the user to do is shoot themselves in the foot. When you guys are using features like this, do you find that it's more frustrating and you wish you had the ability to like turn on what I would call foot gun mode, where it's like I accept the responsibility of these actions, and if it messes up, it's on me? Or would you guys end up in a scenario where you accidentally shoot yourself in the foot and still be upset because the wallet didn't allow it? Like, essentially what I'm trying to figure out is like, how should we lean in those types of like principled decisions where we're trying to figure out how to protect the user?
Good question. Let's see. C-Ray, do you have a response to that? I know we got crippled resistance.
Yeah, no, I was going to respond to that. Is from what I've seen so far, people are going to complain regardless. But the number one complaint that I do see is the idea that Brave lately has been taking away control from us users. If we want to do something stupid, then let us do something stupid. Give us a warning. I don't care if you even make us type out, I understand and I'm stupid and want to take this risk. But, let us have that option. When you take it away completely, kind of like how we're taking away the aggressive fingerprinting control and all that stuff, it really, it defeats you. It makes you want to look elsewhere for a place that is going to let you do it and offer similar or better or so control. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, as Baz pointed out, user or warning fatigue is a big problem, and like in a lot of cases, a lot of these things are falling down to me and the engineers having a chat about it and deciding like what seems like the right balance here for the specific case, and we're not always going to get it right. The thing that I always argue for is protecting the user, because this is funds, and I don't really want to see kind of the MetaMask scenario where bunches of users are shooting themselves in the feet, and we're not able to respond quickly. So I'd rather fail. There's this principle called fail closed. It's, if you imagine a fire safety door, you want a fire safety door to fail open. So if it fails, it's the safe procedure. Whereas there's security doors where you want them to fail closed. In a lot of cases when we're dealing with money, that's kind of where I argue and tend to argue towards, is kind of that fail closed approach, but we don't necessarily always get it right. And I'm always concerned about presenting too many warnings because of that. So, if these things come up and there's, things where it's like, we got it wrong because, we didn't think of a use case or something, please raise these issues as well. Because then we can go back and we can look at how we can redesign these things and provide a better user experience. But yeah, again, this is one where it's like, didn't even think about this. I can see how the code got written and how this decision was made, but it's one of those things where without knowing it's a problem first, it's hard to figure out and go back and address.
And the spectrum's like pretty broad too. I mean, like it is kind of wild with wallets right now, where like on one end you've got like what Kyle was just talking about, like protecting the user, and then Brave's always got the privacy in mind too of the user. And then on the other end of the spectrum, like Phantom's just releasing these like wallet watcher features, which is just like basically like randomly follow read only any wallet address, and it's kind of like so antithetical to what we're trying to do. It's like all over the place, and everybody's trying to find market fit with the products, and so I think like this is where we lean into like getting, just to echo what Kyle was saying, like getting that feedback is like really important from our users, because we're always going to listen to you all first, right? Because you're the ones that are using the product, and are especially the group here is like really vocal about things they care about and want to see things succeed. So keep that coming. And I know Cripple Resistance has been waiting for a long time, so I'm going to let you chime in now too. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good.
My question was kind of along the same line, but with regards to how big is too big as far as company wise, because a lot of people knock down Google, but Brave would love to be the size of Google. but without the privacy issues, how do you how do you rectify that and make that into a better situation? Because we would love to have 2 billion users, but at what cost?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, but also I think, and Brendan mentions this like pretty often too. When people have asked about like, well, what would happen if like in any scenario where let's say there was like an acquisition or something like that, and or if you got too big or whatever, what would be the trade-off, right? And I think that Brendan's answer for these things have been really good in the past. He said, like the first thing is if we break our promises to our users, then, our users are going to leave. Right. Like, and I think if you look at the trend of what we've been doing as a company, like we've been really sticking with those first principles that matter and not capitulating on things. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, like even at a small size, we've turned away millions of dollars in revenue potential that we've been offered for if we would just do this one thing or whitelist this one call or budge on some of these things. And I think that one of the reasons why Brave is special and is because like from the top down in the company and horizontally too, you've got a group of people that really care about what we're trying to do. And maybe that changes. I mean, companies change with growth, but I think that there's a big jump to get from where we're at now to 2 billion. And I think that, we've gotten to 67 million without really compromising some of those values. And it's fact, I mean, like, I think that a lot of it's evolved to include other things too. Like when we were first, going to market, it was privacy oriented and there was some talk about user first or whatever, but like now other things have fallen in that bucket because we've seen how the market's evolved where like things like self-custody and other important features that we have in the browser are part of that toolkit, and that's going to be an increasingly large toolkit over time just because we're at this moment now where you're really starting to see a lot of the abstract scenarios that got speculated about early on with what would happen if you had these big entities doing these things, or if government started to overreach, or et cetera, hacks, phishing, all these things like started to happen at this bigger scale. Well, we're here now, like you're starting to see these things happen. And so people are going to want an alternative. And I think that that's where, again, like relying on our user base is a North Star of sorts, to make sure that keeping us in check, what you guys do. And then I think that, working in the open, like the company does, are keys to that. But also, I mean, if we're getting that size, it's not because we're sacrificing privacy. It's because we're making privacy convenient and competitive against the incumbent players that have created, this massive mainstream adoption with user hostile defaults, right? So I think that I don't think that we're succeeding by compromising on these things. I think that we're succeeding because we're making them more convenient and better and improving on them, because that's really the goal here. And I was interviewing this morning for the podcast. We were interviewing the founder of Proton, and it was interesting because like you don't get a chance to talk to a lot of companies that are in this privacy space one-on-one like this very often, where there are so many things that startups can take for granted with how easy it is to plug and play stuff, whereas like with what we're doing here, things that are simple to do everywhere else, you have to figure out a way to do it that sticks to our principles. So even things that are minor become like difficult problems to chew on, right? And so but when you crack that problem and you can build on it, you can adapt these things to work elsewhere. I mean, and I think that we've seen a lot of that with our own internal tooling and what we've been able to do with that over time. And so I don't think we compromise. Like, I don't think we give up. I think we build on this basic principle that you can have, a user first internet, and then you can make business and community and all these other things work as a part of that instead of working against it. And it takes getting larger, but you get to the point where you hit a tipping point of like, first, people don't really care because you're not big enough. And then you get some champions that do want to do things with you. And then you get to the point where you're too big for them not to do something with you. And if we can hit these levels and cross over, I mean, then it's really like, well, if this is how it should have always been. Right. Like, and I think that's kind of, it takes leadership to make a product do that without having to like compromise on these things or selling out in the wrong way or whatever. But I think that, we're still here after all this time. And like Kyle was saying, like everybody was saying, mistakes are kind of inevitable with this stuff, but it's all about how you kind of recover from those inevitabilities. And I think that we, every day the team works really hard to prove it out and work with all of you all very closly. So I hope that.
So does Brave have privacy in the bylaws or in the corporate guidance? Is there something in there that this is what we strive to be always, is a privacy company first?
Well, I think there's a good public facing example of this. If you just go look at the first Brave blog ever written that Brendan put out there, it's like how to fix the web, right? Like which is kind of a good guiding piece of that he published. But I think also too, and maybe Kyle could probably speak to this better than me, but anytime there are major, I don't know what the level of requirement is on this, but I know even in business deals and in other areas that don't even necessarily touch the code base, we have this like a process internally where it's like a privacy, security, and kind of a policy review process where it requires like submitting an issue, explaining it with these different criteria, whether that's like a business arrangement that has an agreement attached to it, or it's a piece of code that they're putting in, or a new piece of software that we're incorporating into the stack or whatever, where then you have like different security and privacy and our policy officers all reviewing these things and making sure that they, are sticking to our principle. I don't know, Kyle, you can probably speak about that process better than I can. But I mean, like, feel free if you have any thoughts on it.
Yeah. Okay, my mic's working. I had to switch over from my headphones. I think there's a few things that have to really be considered here. Specifically with the privacy aspect. Like one thing that we do take into consideration with this is, who we partner with, and what sort of effects. So like one of the biggest things that I look at, like when we're looking at like RPC servers, is how much are they logging? I'm very aware of the fact that when we're handing out wallet addresses, we're inherently correlating this to be a Brave user. There's ways that this can be fingerprinted and stuff, but having a cohort of known Brave wallet users is not really something that I take lightly and want to just hand that data over to any sort of partner. And so that's one thing that comes into consideration. And it's something that, the reason that we push for proxying of these types of things is you're aware that this is a Brave user, but, we aren't going to let their IP address be linked to their wallet addresses. And so it's like a lot of these things happen behind the scenes because the people who work here care about this stuff. We've watched what happened in Web 2, and we don't want to see that happen in Web 3. And so I think that's the second aspect of this. Is you asked about bylaws. Bylaws are useful, but like to a certain degree, they only help so much. So if you look at like corporate structures, for example, classic LLCs and for-profit companies, there's a lot of theory behind this that backs the idea that their main goal is to turn a profit. And if privacy takes a back seat to that, then so be it, because they create liability for themselves, the board does, if they don't address maximizing profit. So this is kind of where, B Corps came about, like kind of the do-good corporations where they can address different things and put profits as a backseat. But there's a lot of like corporate structure and governance that comes into play that causes issues there. So I bring this up to point out that like you can put guardrails in place like this, but they're kind of theoretical. And really the key point here is who's on the team, how much they're pushing for it, and what is the organizational kind of culture that supports it. So, you know, because we have privacy and review capabilities and we can override a lot of things, you know, we're empowered to be able to kind of help guide the direction in that sort of way that's not like that at a lot of other companies. And so I think that kind of creates that empowerment that allows us to be able to continue to deliver on those privacy promises. You know, you look at Google, for example, of don't be evil. Well, that was a, you know, written in their bylaws, but it was easily removed. And so, like, the better question to this is why. And so this is where I look at it and I go, well, how did Google fail? How did Facebook fail? They didn't really have anybody to chart a path for them and be able to, like, you know, look at and see like what happens when you become a big tech company. Whereas kind of we have that kind of like historical map to be able to look at and see where things fail, to be able to look at it and go, how do we address this from being able to, you know, get to that point ever again? And so that's kind of the way that I think about it as well. And it's part of the reason I asked that question in the first place of like, what's the right way to address this? You know, because when I am having to help make decisions on this, I want to make it happen, but I have to balance a lot of different things, and it's a juggling act. So hopefully that provides a little bit of a long-winded explanation of like touching on a bunch of different topics there to explain how I think about it, at least.
Well, Kyle, I was just wanting to tell you or argue or suggest that that we should always give the user option with explanation, with instructions.
Yeah.
Does that make, because users always want options, and maybe give them a couple paths, like an idiot-proof path, and a pro user path. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and there's kind of a struggle with this. So the example that I had when I was debating somebody about this previously was, imagine when you sign up for Firefox, you had to configure every single flag that's available in about config. No one would use Firefox. So you end up in this trade-off of like making decisions for users, but then allowing them to be able to override it. But if you do it in an idiot-proof way, you do it in such a way that it still ends up back at that paternalistic balance. And so this is really kind of the struggle that I keep looking for new and innovative user experience solutions around. I mean, I think this is really what we're trying to do with Web3 as a whole in a principled way, is to find a way to rebalance user choice within this and do it in a way that doesn't end up in this problem, as I've heard it described as little people, big desk problem. And I can add a link there, but
it's almost, thank you. It's almost it's a great philosophical issue.
Yes, there's no perfect answer, and that's part of the reason who you hire makes a big difference. And I think that's the one thing that Brave does so well is throughout the entire organization, we pick people who care about these issues. Day in, day out, whenever I'm talking with people, you know, because I deal with a lot of security and privacy issues, everybody is incredibly knowledgeable and wants to do the right thing. And I don't know if you could say the same thing about people inside of Google anymore. I think it started that way, but I think over time it's changed because the incentives of people have changed over time. You know, as a perfect example of this, I've heard of a lot of people inside of Google that, you know, get paid to ship specifications. They get bonuses for it. So they're incentivized to ship things that may not necessarily be the best thing for the web. but because they're self-incentivized to get paid for it, it creates that like sort of conflict of interest. And so then we have to look at those types of things, you know, within the organization, but then also within the people that we hire to make sure that all of those things come out to balance. And so there's no perfect answer here. If we get it wrong, we'll try and fix it. But at the very least, we're going to do our best to try and get it right in the first place.
I think like it's like a really good point too that Kyle mentions there. Like, I mean, because it's Brave is kind of interesting in the fact that, you know, it came to market. Like, I mean, I know this is my own personal experience of like working in the advertising space, right? Like, and seeing that, you know, I didn't like what we were doing, and I didn't feel, and I knew the scale in which we were doing, and I knew what we would get requested to do, and even get paid more to do, like things that were becoming more and more invasive. But when everything's moving in one direction, sometimes it takes like somebody to a company or an effort or a team or whatever to like stand up and say, oh, we can try something different, even if it's like even if we have to really do the hard work to get it there. And I think that what's really interesting about Brave is that, like, at least when I look at our team, it's just a lot of people that have worked in a lot of these larger companies, and it's almost like a second chance at like trying to get it right. If you have that experience from going through, seeing and being part of how that sausage making kind of nightmare is. I mean, and part of it's like, when these things start to scale, they scale so fast that you know, there's not necessarily a lot of time to reflect on what the larger impacts are for these things. But, you know, and once they get to a certain size, trying to put that toothpaste back in the tube is almost impossible. Like in the case of Google or any of these other companies that are publicly, you know, held, it's really hard. Right. But I think that what I really like about this team is that, you know, you've got a lot of, I mean, I don't think that even, you know, people in ad tech, I don't think they feel like good about what the technology's kind of become, or even would have wanted it to go in that direction. It's just like, when that's the only game in town, you play the game, right? And I think that, you know, we start to see this where people come in on other teams, and you know, people want to feel good about what they're putting into the world. And I think that with what we're all doing here, it's really part of your daily life. And so I don't know, at least for me, I mean, like, and I've been here for a long time, and it's one of those things where, you know, I know that whatever the hardest problem is we're dealing with, at least I feel good about what we're trying to do in solving that problem. And it's a good problem if people care so much about this stuff that they're like arguing over like which thing, you know, is going to protect people more or less, right? Like, and sometimes these things are seen as, oh, like these privacy reviews or whatever, you know, initially people can kind of gripe about, you know, having to take these extra steps. But I think like one thing we've learned as an organization over time, at least what I've observed, is that the sooner you bring that process into place, the less grief you have later on. And that the folks that are doing it aren't doing it because they want to like say no to things. They want to work on making a solution happen if there's one that we can make happen. And there are just some things that are just fundamentally against what we're trying to do here, which is makes it really hard right now too, because, you know, we talk with a lot of companies that aren't Google, but are trying to do something different. And just an example of like, you know, Chrome's getting rid of third-party cookies, right? So like there's a whole new wave of advertising related companies that are trying to do something a little bit different, that don't involve cookies necessarily, but in some cases they involve things that are way more pervasive than a cookie would be, that are way more easy to identify a user on than a cookie would be. And personally, like one of the things I'm very concerned about right now is like, this in the Web3 space, even amongst privacy focused companies, there's just like what I'm starting to see happen in the rate in which it's happening around, oh, well, we can just target a bunch of addresses, or you know, we'll just throw a bunch of Web2 analytics and Web3 DApp and all this, like more and more profiling, and a total kind of ignorance around what that kind of means at a larger scale. Like everybody likes to talk about getting to 1 billion users on crypto or Web3 or whatever. But like, if you put them in that mix with all this crap that is getting bolted onto these dApps, like, maybe Web3 is not going to be better than what Web2 was in some ways. Maybe it's going to be worse, right? Like, and I think that right now is a pretty critical time to like ask hard questions around what this really means for people's privacy. But I know I went on a rant there, but I know, C-Ray, you got a hand up.
Yeah, I was gonna try to squeeze in a couple things, but I see where we're at. And one thing for you guys on Wallet, I was gonna ask if there was any intent to allow people to remove their accounts. Like right now, if I go into Brave Wallet to accounts, it has my Solana account. But if I want to delete that, there's no way to do it. I can just edit the name. There had been a person or two just asking to be able to add and delete accounts from that. And instead, it just seems like you have to wipe your whole wallet or bust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, Douglas or Kyle or any of you guys might have a point of view on that.
It's possible. I don't see any harm because we can add it back. I think it's just one of those things that we probably didn't do because it wasn't the fastest way to get the feature shipped. Sorry, language is hard.
I think there was some discussion about this, and I think there might be some solutions to it. The reason that we have that disabled is because say when you create a wallet, you have a key ring, and when you add a new wallet, it's the next address in your key ring, right? So if you added, for instance, like 20 wallets, and you decided to delete all the ones in the middle, now you got like a 20 address gap in your key ring. And I'm not entirely sure like what the issue is, but that it can cause some issues with like only using that one address. If you're not using the next address in your key ring, from what I understand is that it can cause some issues. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not in like the core integration, but Kyle, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that makes sense. So part of it, again, this is a perfect example of decisions were made Bitcoin era 2012 that are having implications on us today. So, we need BIP 39, for example, and BIP 32 hierarchical derivation. The design of that spec of how you do derivation means that you need the previous key in order to get the next key. So we can visually remove it, but within the actual core code itself, we can't remove it unless we start storing keys in state, and then it becomes this like whole other issue of like, how do you store random keys that exist and stuff like that, and make them fit in there together. So it's possible to do, but again, it comes down to the complexity of it. And so I think that's part of where, when I said it's, we didn't do it because it wasn't as fast. What you just described there, Doug, reminds me exactly why it wouldn't be as fast, is because we have to go and redo a bunch of this code and make it not quite work as it was spec'd out, which then means we can't run the tests. We have to verify the security in a different way. There's a lot of things that come with trying to change these things. It's going to be the same thing that we see with approval with ERC20s, approval claims and stuff like that. We can't really get rid of it at this point because ERC20s are so well used and ossified at this point that like now when I talk with some of the core devs at Ethereum and stuff like that, everybody wants to get rid of approval. We recognize it was a bad mistake, but like we're stuck with it because so many things rely on it. So it's a similar issue with this here, where it's like we can pack something on top and make it visually work like that, but underneath the hood, it has to work differently, and then we got to figure out how to make that all work, and that takes time.
All right, I appreciate it. I just knew that was a random thing that came up. And Luke, if you don't mind, one very quick question.
Yeah.
Now, the BAT payments, as we do on chain, is there an intention to ever stray away from Ethereum, or is it going to remain both options available to users?
I think BAT's native to Ethereum, and I think the idea here is that like this first iteration on-chain settlements will be on Solana, but like as we posted elsewhere too, like there are BAT holders on multiple chains, and I think the attention should be utilized cross-chain, so it won't be like an absolutist one or all, but like in the case with on-chain settlements, in order to scale that like in a way that's easy enough for people to adopt, I think, and proven enough to adopt, I think we went with Solana on that one, but we had intended to do that back in 2021 when we first announced the partnership with Solana. So I think that more optionality will come with time, but this is a big deal, like for us to get these on-chain settlements going. Obviously, if we're phasing the releases out the way we are to test this as we go, it's super important. So I think that first thing first is to kind of get the first iteration of this rolled out completely, and then make sure things are looking good, and then address, like, because there's things you have to ask. I mean, there's important questions around. Okay, well, who's gonna is Brave gonna eat the fees on these? Do we have to pass that to the user? Is there some mix where we can do it where it's affordable and not have it incur costs to the user, but if they want to settle on a more expensive network, or a network that has a variable fee that can get more expensive, like we want to create an option for that. Like, these are all kind of questions to weigh, but I think they're all kind of there are questions to weigh, and also to like pay attention to as we get more and more people using it at a larger scale, because we're going to discover new things that we don't know already as we roll this thing out, because we've never really rolled it out at this large of a scale to this many people on chain like this. So I think it'll be iterative, but just to answer the initial question, like, no, we're not going to just like have one flow for this and only one network that BAT's on. So I hope that helps. But we're at time right now. It's 6 minutes over, and I appreciate everybody for joining. Kyle, Douglas, Samson, Marshall, everybody from the team, and we'll be back 1 week from today, same bat time and same bat channel. And until then, see you all online and have a great week. See ya.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.